The comment, it's Oskav Ches, right?
Yeah.
And the comment, no, I think we're up to Oskav Zayin. I'm sorry, we did Kofim there. I think we're up to Oskav Zayin.
Right.
That's okay. Vinei la'eo hevesi masha hikshu al matzah shel eser v'hi de esei docha los eseh. That was, I think, by the case of Yerushalmi, eseh matzah shel chodesh, right? Hikama kameina roy l'shiva. Because after you do the kazayas of the matzah, so where you had esei docha los eseh, then it's not going to be, you're not going to be able to eat the los eseh anymore. So it should be a chisar, and it's not roy l'shiva. So now he wants to give his own teretz to that kasha. Im nomar, the mitzvah says, yosei ashalo kederach achilasa. He brings a number of times. I think where he normally says, shlo kederach achila is not an achila legabi delos asa. But there is a whole, I think it's a Mishnah that says, clear as what about by a mitzvah asay. So he says, if you say by a mitzvah asay, you can be yotzei even shlo kederach achila. Im kain kemosha ochal ata shelo kederach achilas v'yotzei dechavesus. So just like a person can eat shelo kederach achilas v'yotzei, so havi roy l'shiva. So therefore, there's no problem that even though there's a losa, how is it roy l'shiva when there's no essay? As soon as you eat the first kazayas, the essay is gone. He says there's no problem. It's still roy l'shiva because you could eat it shelo kederach achilas. Yachol lechol shelo kederach achilasa. Ve'ena over lalav. You're not going to be over the lav. U'aharbe rishonim af iser leka. According to that, so some say it's also midrabanan shlo kederach achila, but he says harbe rishonim hold there's not even an iser derabanan. So therefore, he's saying it's not a problem if you say esek dokolosa. You're not going to say well it's still a chisar, it's not roy l'shiva because it is roy l'shiva because you could eat it shlo kederach. You could eat it shlo kederach achila. You're not going to be over the lav. What was the case that Rav Yossi said in Psachim that it's a problem of not roy l'shiva? He says his case is true because Amar Shaper Gabi, he was talking about the Torah that shein roy l'shiva. There it's not roy l'shiva because you can't leave it over because of the problem of noser. Ki aser lahoser machmas alav de lo sosiru. Avu b'shari yisurim the mutter lahoser. It is chazi l'chila shelo kederach achila. So if you hold you can be yot if you hold shlo kederach achila, you're not over the lav, so so it's going to be mutter. The ain't yesh laharich, and this ain't darki b'chibur zeh. I don't. The problem that I have with this is that even if you accept what he's saying, so I remember that someplace in Minchas Chinuch asked the kasha, how could you say esesh doko los eseh? In other words, if the losa you're not over shlo kederach achila and you're yotzei the mitzvah shlo kederach achila, so how do you ever say esesh doko los in the first place? It's efshalakayim shneim by shlo kederach achila. So, but he's not saying that here. Here you're saying you say esesh doko los eseh. And the problem of not roy l'shiva is not a problem because the fact that it could either shlo kederach achila takes away the problem of then it is roy l'shiva. But I understood because could be, in other words, so he's going to shlo kederach achila, you're not over the lav, maybe over here, and also you're not makayim the mitzvah, so you have to say esei dokolosa. So he's just dealing with the problem of roy l'achila.
He's saying, but that's the whole thing. He's saying, here it's not the kind of mitzvah. But he says that's the whole point. He's saying that the question is if you eat it lo kederach achila, it's.
But he's saying that is you are mekayim the mitzvah. So
right.
if you're the mekayim the mitzvah, so why do you say esei dokolosa? So my problem is why do you say esei dokolosa in the first place? I'm thinking he himself asked this kasha someplace else. Maybe the Mishnah asked the kasha, but I don't know why. His whole word was just to answer it's not roy l'shiva. So why didn't he just say it is roy l'shiva? Let's say you're not mekayim the mitzvah shlo kederach achila. You're not over the lav. You're not mekayim the mitzvah. So you have to come on to eating it derech achila. Right. So you have to come on to esei docha. Those then there's a problem. But after they do the ksayos, there's a problem. It's not roy Shiva. So just say then.
Well, that's the interesting question. Is roy l'shiva means roy to be eaten In other words, what does Roy L'Shiva mean?
But he's saying that it is considered Roy L'Shiva. He wants his whole board is he wants to say that eating, even if it's only mutter shloka derech chila, it's still called Roy L'Shiva.
Right. That itself is raises.
So good. So why does he say you could be? What's it tell you if you could be yotzi the mitzvah shloka derech chila? You can't be yotzi the mitzvah shloka derech chila.
Right.
Unless
Roy L'Shiva has something to do
with the way you're doing the mitzvah.
But it's a question: what does Roy L'Shiva mean? If it's Roy L'Shiva, I presume it's not Nisr Hana. It's not a question of Hana, isn't it? Right. So the point is, it's really the Isser is Achila.
Right.
So Roy L'Shiva means able to be eaten. I think. Like when you talk about being the kind of mitzvah, like in other words, you would think it says to be eaten. So the mitzvah is you have to eat it. So if you say that you can be mekayim the mitzvah, okay, then what exactly is the mitzvah? Okay, in other words, if shloka derech achila, it's not eating it, right? Or it has to, in other words, you have to come up with what exactly is the mitzvah.
That's why. I mean, if you hold your say a mitzvah shloka derech achila, you hold that is called achila. It's just not achila l'gabe the law, but it is called an achila l'gabe mitzvah. So that's what he's saying. But in Mela, he's saying it's a Roy L'Shiva.
What you're saying is two different definitions of achila.
Right. Well, that's the shaila. I mean, the ones who hold that it's not, you're not over the law, but you are mekayim a mitzvah. So l'chora, they're saying there's two definitions of achila. And
therefore, Roy L'Shiva is based upon the definition of achila of a mitzvah of the essay rather than los essay, because it's big.
Yeah, could be that's what he holds. That's what he has to say. But then I'm telling you that there's a problem. Right, so then why do you say it's go closer? But he should have said the way out of that was by saying that you're not yotzei the mitzvah either.
But that's
and therefore you have to say, and it still could be it's called shalom. It could be that's called Roy L'Shiva. You're saying if you're not yotzei the mitzvah or those, it wouldn't be called Roy La. It wouldn't be called Roy La. I don't know. Could be. I hear.
Yeah.
But his way to have this problem, what I'm telling him, then how do you say Yesidopoulos in the first place? Okay, I don't know, but we're going to go back there. I'm thinking himself deals with that someplace, but I don't know where. Okay.
There's no, when it says Roy L'Shiva, it's a very interesting case, because I presume most cases of Roy L'Shiva is it's only good for the first 3 days, the first 4 days, the first 2 days, and then it's not good after that. Here, it's only not good until the second day. Once
right. We went right.
So it's only it's this intermediate type of.
Because he's learning. You brought this up once, but he's learning Roy L'Shiva means the whole Shiva, not just that every day of the Shiva. But he's learning Roy L'Shiva means the whole.
Right, because here every Shiva. Day of the Shiva. Okay. Yeah, I think.
You brought it up. I think.
Right.
Okay. The ayin lekamen mitzvah sukkah. Hevesi b'shem Rashi Sukkah Daf Chazayin Hevesi Yermaskal Kol Denira B'dvarav D'chol Mokum D'Beinin Lachem wherever the Torah says Lachem Im Eino Shava Pruta Lo Mikri Lachem, because the Gemara says that by the Dalaminim you need Lachem, but by Sukkah you can be Yotzei with a Sukkah Shul, you don't need Lachem by a Sukkah. And the Gemara says, how do we know that by a sukkah you don't need lachem? So the Gemara says because there's a pasuk that's mashma the whole Klal Yisrael could use one sukkah. So that's a raya. You don't need lachem. So Rashi says, what's the raya? Because obviously, if whole Klal Yisrael is using one sukkah, not everybody's not going to have a shava pruta. And if you don't have a shava pruta, it's not lachem. So that's the Gemara's raya. Since you see that everyone could use one sukkah, because that we see from a pasuk. And when everyone uses one sukkah, Rashi says it's not shaykh, but everyone has a shava pruta in the sukkah. So you see that you don't need lachem, because if you don't have people don't have a shava pruta, then you're still being yotzei. That's a Rashi.
The person doesn't own a shava pruta in the sukkah at that kind of, or it's because a person doesn't have a shava pruta.
Because he can't have a shava pruta. Rashi says if it's one sukkah for the Gans Klal Yisrael, it's not shaykh that everybody from Klal Yisrael will have a shava pruta's worth.
In the sukkah.
In the sukkah. So it's not lachem. and you're still being guilty.
If it's big enough to take in God's Klal Yisrael,
they're not going to have a Shiur Pruta. He says it's not shy that everybody Klal Yisrael will.
Why the space in the sukkah for the goof to be there theoretically should be worth a Shiur Pruta, no?
No.
I'm just saying, like
Raj says there's so many people with one sukkah, it's not shy that everyone will have a Shiur Pruta in the sukkah.
I mean, if you think about it, I mean, a sukkah, if you have a certain space that's necessary for a sukkah, right, and you say that space is necessary for, well, let's say the minimum size sukkah, and you take the amount of people that you fit in to be totally crunched in that sukkah, okay? So you're saying there wouldn't be a Shiur Pruta for everyone? I mean, I'm just, I would think the space of my goof in a sukkah construction should theoretically be worth more than a Shiur Pruta.
Okay. But unless Rashi means, could be everybody's going to use the sukkah one after each other, you know. But Rashi doesn't seem to say that, but I have to look it up.
It just seems like it's a...
That's the Rashi they use to prove. The Rashi holds that if you have less than a Shiur Pruta, it's not called lachem. So he's saying, according to Rashi, Lefizeh, Sarach HaKazayas Matzah Liyos Shiur Pruta. If you hold, because we saw before people that said you need lachem by matzah schem, it says in Heitzul Choref, you need lachem, so you're going to have to say the Kazayas mitzvah has to be a Shiur Pruta. But who never chedesh? He says you don't find that in this form that say make sure the matzah is a Shiur Pruta. Well, nowadays it's not a problem if you need more matzah. But we don't find this form saying that matzah has to be a Shiur Pruta. But he says that's what's going to come out.
You can make matzah. The matzah is worth whatever the matzah is worth. It's less than Shiur Pruta. You can't add anything to it to make it worth more anyway. You know.
Okay. Here, but still. Which I didn't look up. Okay, so I know that there are Rishonim over there that disagree with Rashi. Rishonim say that lachem is not totally. He says if something is only worth half a pruta and you own it, he says that's lachem. He says it's not. You don't lose ownership if it's less than a Shiur Pruta. I think over there the Tosfos Rid says. Again, it's hard to understand this because in our present situation it's not true. But he says rabbis aren't worth a Shiur Pruta, and he says and he still has no problem. I mean, if it's a problem lachem, it's a problem with all the daled alminim have to be lachem. And he says that rabbis aren't worth a Shiur Pruta. So how could Rashi say you're not? Comes in Rashi you're not yotzei the mitzvah daled alminim because it's less than a Shiur Pruta?
Because the rabbis mostly they just cut off the.
Okay. Yeah, they're probably available, and there's nothing. So I mean that's his kasha, Rashi. So Rashi, it's not a kasha, just it's for practicality. Probably Rashi holds. Okay, so he's saying there are shitas. I remember, but Pasha the Rashi is not mashal. Some people say that Rashi agrees if you're the full owner, then it's considered lachem. But if there are a whole bunch of owners, right, like the case of the pasuk where there's one sukkah for the whole Klal Yisrael, then there's a problem that if you're only a partial owner and your whole partial ownership is less than a Shiur Pruta, that's not called lachem because you're only a partial owner, and that kind of partial interest doesn't make it lachem. But if you would be the full owner. In other words, if you would be the full owner of the Arava or the full owner of the sukkah, then it would be lachem. That's what some people say. It's really you can hear that svara. I don't think it's a bad svara, but
I'm thinking like what's going through my mind is the idea by let's say in something that's not kosher. It's a bria b'fnei asmo. It doesn't matter if it's kazayas or not. So I'm thinking like in terms of if you own the whole thing, then the object is owned. But if you own partnership, you have to think in terms of kesed. And kesed is already didn't have approved. I mean,
that's the idea. That's sort of like the idea what I'm saying.
Right. I can understand that argument.
But I don't think Rashi's words over there are mashal like that. But some people, there are Achronim that say that in Rashi. Certainly the Tosas Rid that answer my reverence didn't understand that way. He understood Rashi Kipshuta like Minchas Chinuch was understanding, because if you learn like that, then that's not a problem with matzah either.
Right,
because you own as long as you own the whole whole matzah.
Right. That you're eating. Even if you break off a piece of the matzah, that you own that whole piece.
Right.
Yeah.
He says, "I am Meshach Asavlim, the common which I didn't do. I am betos l'sukkah chazan avezir masal kol. The be'esrog shel shutvin ena yotzei." Now this is a different style. When you're a shutaf, or you consider l'chem, even when you have a shavar pruta, the tosas by an esrog shel shutvin ena yotzei, then it's mat melachem. If it's not completely yours, you're a partner with someone else, it's not considered lechem. You call makom b'masa shel shutvin because the tosas kan daflam chesam al dir maskal asya gabi tavel u'sukkah daflam at hey dir maskal asya the imyesh b'shelo levad shiur yatsa im kain achinami. Tosas makes a chiluk over there between a esrog and matzah, because he says by an esrog, even if you have the size, a kosher enough size of the esrog, which would be lachem, but it's a problem because the esrog can't be chaser, so you have to be the complete owner. But he says by a matzah, you don't have to own the whole matzah. You could be yotzi with a piece of the matzah. So as long as your piece is lachem, we don't care that there's a partner.
Excuse me, it's home. Well, yeah, I'm in the middle of the share. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Everything okay?
Yeah. She said I didn't say goodbye. I thought I did say goodbye.
Okay.
She was worried. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Oh boy.
So that's Tosaf. There's split between esrog and matzah. In Cain, he says Hachinami. So here also he says, so by Shitfin over here it would be good. Im ein shir b'shalo. But let's say that the part that you own is not enough of it. It's not a kazayas. Im kain chelet chavero not im kain chelet chavero nehida lasakan. Even though if you're going to chew it and bite it, you're going to be kona your friends with that's going to be a gezel. Become akam havle mitzvah ba aver, and you need to come out to his chelet. Achim yesh b'shalo levad kazayas lo havi mitzvah. But if in your share you have a kazayas, and even if it's necessary to eat the other guy's part to get your share, he's saying that wouldn't be a mitzvah b'avera. Ki b'lo ha'avera gam kin tiskayim a mitzvah, because the avera isn't dependent on the mitzvah. It can be done without the avera. If you have a shir, and he's going the mitzvah b'avera is only when you have to be over the avera to get the mitzvah. B'das l'navon nikal. What would be if you have a case where you have enough of a share, but you're not able to get to your share unless you steal the other guy's? I guess technically you could think of such a case. Then the avera would be enabling you to do the mitzvah, or let's say you have enough of a share, so you don't need the share of the avera to add to the share, but in order to be able to get to your share,
it's the inner part of the mitzvah.
Something like that, where you have to. It's hard because
in fact, the actual mitzvah is not what the. In other words, you did the avera still before you did the mitzvah.
Yeah, and it's hard to understand also because you could just break it off. I don't know how. It's hard to work out a case. He's only going where the lease, but you don't have to have the lease. So I don't know. Maybe you can't think of a case, but he's saying clearly that if the avera isn't necessary for the mitzvah, then there's not a problem. It's a avera, and he's going to explain that. Before he did explain that before. Okay, so he finished eating matzah. Now mitzvah get aleph.
This thing of lachem, is that you said the halacha mitzvah people have it in mind, Like nowadays?
Yeah, that's what it says. It says there's a din of matzaschem when you have guests. So it said, I told you that the people say you don't have to have it in mind because, first of all, there's some Rishonim that hold that anytime you give food to a guest, you're making it because it's a big shayla in the Rishonim and generally when you give food to a guest, are you being making it or just giving them a heter to eat it, but you're not being making it. But second of all, there's a svara that if that's what's necessary for the mitzvah, right, and you're giving it to him so he could do that mitzvah, so it's understood that you're being making in this case. I told you that this svara by that rush by someone didn't have a ring for the wedding, and someone else gave him the ring, and he didn't have specific mind to be making it. The Rush says it's good enough because he did have in mind that he should use it for kedushin, and by definition that you need to own it. So that's a good enough task. So they use that, but generally it's nothing wrong. Why not be machmer? Have a mind to be making and have a mind for the person. The person should have a mind to be counted. But I don't. You certainly don't see what the first two stars. I think.
It just some reason it never. Maybe run through maybe but for some reason I never noticed this idea of bachem by matzah. I don't know why. I'm sure I maybe read it and just read over it and So okay. But you're saying, but that's generally the halacha l'maisa. People are actually concerned. I mean, that's generally the idea. Okay.
It's the Yud Aleph. Shelo yimatzei chametz b'rishuseinu b'Pesach. It's a low sasa. Zaktachinach shelo yimatzei chametz b'rishuseinu kol yemei haPesach. Not that it's usher if you only have it all whole Pesach. Means any time in Pesach you're not allowed to have chametz. Shenemar, because it says Shivas Yamim Seor Leyimatzi Batechem. You know that pasuk is by Seor. Ubir Chachmein Zal Lav Davka Beso. Even though it says Batechem, it doesn't only mean your house. Ela Kol Sheb Rishuso. It can't be in your rishus, even if it's not in your house, like if it's in your backyard. Lav Davka Seor Shehu Machametz. And even though the pasuk says Seor, which is something like leavening, which makes other things chametz, which is in Israel. Who I did chametz? Chametz is the same halacha as seor. The seor of a chametz chad hu le'min yisur. The more mixtication and everything, that seor and chametz have the same din. So just like by seor it says le'imatzei, so le'imatzei applies to chametz also. B'shor sheyeh mitzvah k'dei shenisker le'olam ha'nisim shenas lanu b'yitzias Mitzrayim k'mo shekasu b'seh ha'pesach by Kor Pesach. V'nizker Shiur lanu kinyan zeh shemitoch yipazon yitziyah afinu ha'isa matzah, because of our rush we baked matzah ki lo yochlu lismameya ad sheyachmitz, because they weren't able to take the time to wait till it became chametzik to rise k'mo shekasu v'yochlu esapasach. So that's not so clear, but that's what he's saying. Okay. I mean, the reason it's not so clear is because they were told to eat matzah before this whole thing.
Right.
So some say it's al shema asid, and then there's other pshatim to learn too. But okay, that's what he says. So now the Minchas Chinuch leyimatzei chametz b'rishuseinu lePesach. Nirin medivri Rabbi Moshe Hochman lekam ben mitzvah chof de'enu over bal yiro bal yamatzei rak b'shivas mei Pesach. Because he says kol yemei haPesach. So it seems to be that the whole Aveira starts the night of Pesach. Avol be'era Pesach, but on Era Pesach, machatzos, even after chatzos, where there's a mitzvah of tashbisu, where it says clearly that after chatzos you have to get rid of your chametz. But it seems the Aveira by Yeroah ain't over. And the simple reason is pasuk, because it only says in the pasuk, Shivas Yamim Sor Lo Yimatzei, so it should only be Shivas Yamim. Because of a Raibit Perigil Michamas Matzah Halacha Ches, that the Bal Yirah by Yamatzi is only on Pesach and not Erev Pesach. The Rav Hamagid Sham Kasav the Gamdas Rambam came that he agrees to that. The Minyan HaMitzvos B'Hagdam L'Hilchos Chametz HaMatzah Kasav Rambam L'Hashbi Sor B'Yadalit. The Tashbisa starts on Yadalit. And the Yirah Chametz is called Shiva. So the fact that he says Yadalad by Tashbisu and by Chametz by Yirah, he says Kashiva, Mavur Davka Mitzvahs Esay Dashbasi be Yadalad. And that means that not at the beginning Yadalad by Chatzos or by Chatzos. Avon Halav the by Yirah Einu Elashivas Yamim. So that's the Megamish's shot according to the Rambam. I know to be Yehuda Kama Kosav the Ovrim by Yirah Mishay Shalom Alav Er Pesach. And where does it come from? The pasuk says only Shivas Yamim, because he says Mehakesha L'Sor Hashbasa. Says there's a hekesh between Sora Bayirah to Sora Hashbasa, and just like Hashbasa, it's Mechatzos of Erev Pesach, right? Af Kivin to whom Yud Gimel Midos Biyadua. This is only a hekesh. Biyadua the Derech Haramish of Minyan Mitzvahs Eina Mona Elamasha B'Mefurish B'Torah V'Lo Mea Nidrish B'Yud Gimel Midos. So he's slugging up the Magamish's deek. It's true that the Rambam says Tashbisu was Chatzos and Bayirah is Shiva, because that's the Rambam, the Minyan Mitzvahs. In the Minyan Mitzvahs, he doesn't deal with drashas. That's the note of view. The Shikta.
This thing with the Rambam not counting the aspect in the Talmudic mitzvahs, I thought that would be in terms of a real mitzvah being part of Tayyag. This is only like a prat in the mitzvah. In other words, this is not creating a full category of a mitzvah. It's just saying a drasha in the prat of the mitzvah. It's like.
Well, I hear the chiluk you're saying, but why should that be mechalik? I mean, the whole idea of the Rambam is you only say Torah mitzvahs are what's written in the Torah.
Well, but like you take all the mitzvahs have drashas. I mean, I mean.
So those drashas he won't mention and when he's mona the mitzvah he won't mention those.
Just in that. I mean, most cases you wouldn't start mentioning the pratim. In the Sefer's mitzvahs, he wouldn't mention the pratim anyways. Most cases.
Right, most cases. But he says he certainly won't mention. But he's saying it's not so. He certainly won't mention pratim from the Gimel Midas, and that's why it says Shiva, because the pasuk says Shiva.
Yeah, no, I understand. I understand that. I just, but my I understand this idea that Rambam not counting a total, a full chefs of a mitzvah as part of Te'ah from the drashas, but a prat in.
I can't think offhand now, but I think there's rise against what you're saying. The Rambam mentions, speaks out certain details there, but I have to look at it. I have to look.
Interesting in terms of let's say in kedushin, does he doesn't like. When he brings down kedushin in the Taryag, how does he define it? Does he say anything about kesef shtar bia?
There's problems with girsas. It seemed originally the Rambam only said bia was in the Taryag, but then it seems he changed the bia in shtar.
Shtar is also a drasha. I mean,
Yeah,
but it's a little bit. It's better than the kesef.
So the Rambam says shtar is better than a drasha because there's impossible cases. It's muchach from the Torah, the drasha, because he says, for example, the Torah speaks about a narim rasa was a psula.
So it has to be kedushin.
So the question is, how does he know to pick shtar and not pick kesef?
The Rambam actually says.
The Rambam says that. So shtar is. It's muchach,
right?
But kesef isn't. So why the namrus is a bigger right to start than kesef? I don't know. I never figured that part out. Though maybe once figured out, and I don't remember. But so you see, he counts, even though it doesn't say beferish star is a drasha. But to understand the pasuk, you have to know that drasha. Otherwise, how do you ever have a rasa who's a psula? So whenever it's muchach from the pashas of the krah, right? Even though it's not muchach star,
Rambam says this in the Sefer Mitzvah.
That's when he changed the girsa to make shtar. They asked him. I think it's a tshuva. They asked him originally. The first girsa was only bia.
Right.
Because then when he changed it to bia and shtar, they asked him why did he change and add shtar?
Right.
Stars are just like Kesef.
So
that's what he said.
So that really proves the point that in the Torah mitzvahs, even the drushes for pratim, he's not really including in the.
Right.
So, but his original idea that I'm not even mentioning star, because he for sure holds those stars are rice anyways. But he's not going to mention it in the. So that really proves his point over here. The point over here. Okay, I mean it's connected with what I was saying. That's so interesting.
I just don't know why Naam Rasa was
Right,
proving
star.
star more than Kesef. Star is a drasha, Kesef is a drasha.
Right.
So what made him say by Naam
I mean,
Rasa?
I remember having that problem because when Divrei Sofrim, he basically says only by Kesef.
Right.
He doesn't say. I mean, that's.
Well, that's telling Gears. This is one Gears. He only said B is deraisa, which was mashma shtar and Kesef are Divrei Sofrims,
Right.
and then he changed the B and shtar as
It seems like it's not like it's his own gear, so we changed it.
He himself changed it. Yeah.
Right. So, but it's not just in the fact that it's in the
Yeah, probably too. Yeah, I would assume so. I don't know. I don't remember exactly, but I would guess so.
Because I remember that bothering me many years ago, like when we first learned it. I sort of, I guess in my own mind, for some reason I felt that Xer Shava Kicha Kicha was more Medivrei Sofrim because the star one is, the star one because it's connected to get and it's right in Psukim around the same place. I mean, it's not really, it's still drasha.
It's still drasha. He doesn't say it your way. He says he brings the raya from the Amrasa to Suva. And maybe that's, he picked star because it's closer. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's and anyway, it comes out according to this, there's a machlokas according to the Rambam as well. Yeroah from Pesach only, like this Pashup Shat in the Pasuk. And that's what the Maggid Mishnah says, it's only called Shiva according to the Rambam. And the Slach says no, there's a Hekesh from Sor, the Yeroah to Sor, the Hashpasa. So it's from Erev Pesach after Chatzos. And the Rambam only says Shiva because he's going through his klal, he only counts in the minyan and mitzvahs, which is beferish.
He states that he must have Maya for that Hekesh. No? He states the Hekesh himself, or? I
don't know. The Ayin Chok Yaakov Siman Tuf Mem Gimel Siv Kan Aleph Hevi Rashi Bavakama Chav Tesna Bei Zer Maskli Sheish the Daito Gam Kein She'ofrim Be'er Pesach V'Bayiro B'Yamatzei. So the truth is, there's a lot of different Rashis. Some places Rashi says that, and some places Rashi doesn't say that. So the Chogaka is picking a Rashi in Bava Kama that there's Bayra Bayamatzei Erev Pesach. The Kvar Kasati Le'el the Nira the Chaim Das Rav HaMachaber Sheba Mitzvah Tes Gabe Mitzvah Esed Tashvis L'Kasev the Mini Chametz over Balav. So that's Mash. If you're wearing Mashbis, it is a lav, and it's Mashma. Even Erev Pesach, when you're supposed to be mashas, you aren't mashas, you're over a lot. Achronim herichu, but this whole Indian, if there's a Bayra, Bayamatzeh, Erev Pesach, there's a big question, and Achronim try to bring Ryan this way, that way. The Ayin Rashi Psachim, Dav Samach Gimel, Amanalach, Al Mishnah, Da Shochei Pesach, Al Chametz, the Gabe, B'moed, Pirish, the Ovrim, Alo Sishchat, Bahadi Lav, the Bayra, Uve Erev Pesach lo pirish rak lav de lo sishkat. He doesn't say Bayra. Nira the Eino over Bayra Erev Pesach is only what's the case though? Shochet Pesach al Chametz.
Yeah.
Then an Yentiv itself, how could he shift the Pesach? You have to shift the Pesach. Very good. So you have to look it up. But he says clearly that on Pesach itself, he says you're over the lo sishkat and the Bayra. And when it came to Erev Pesach, he only said Yovel Sishkat, and he didn't say Ba'al Yirah.
He can't. The word Moed, he can't be referring. Could Moed be referring to Erev Pesach?
No. But he said the Moed Pirish over in Malo Sishkat. How did that the Bar the Erev Pesach? Lo Pirish Rank allow the Sishkat.
Oh, wait.
Nearer the Ain over by Rab Erev Pesach. Ayin Sham Betzlach Uva Achroni.
So the question is how do you have
Shochet Pesach
on Pesach?
Right. I don't know. I have to look it up. But we don't have that. That's the advantage of the other room. We have a Gemara there. Here we don't. Okay. Shuv Reis V'Yishalmi Kan Perakei Halachadal Mavor Lehedjud the Laman the Amr the Over Ba'Chila Mishesh that was Rabbi Yehuda holds there's a lav of achila, who adin bal ye ra. But if you l'choretz masha though, if you don't hold there's a lo yochal, like Rav Shimon, we paskin that ever pays up there is a lo yochal, like Rabbi Yehuda. But if you hold there is no lo yochal, it seems there is no bal yira. Ein shem korban eida. Sarach harichus gdola v'chibur zem lopachani l'katzer. In other words, this go through all the gemaras and all the rayas, whether there's bal yira, by Yamatzei. Erev Pesach, he says there's rayas this way and that way, and he's not going to go into them. But the question, which is the main question, is how could there be? If the pasuk says call shiva, so he's only brought one approach because it could be there's a hekesh, and the hekesh tells you even erev Pesach.
But this idea that there's an Isra Fila after Chatzos.
That's Rabbi Yehuda. It says there's 3 times it says L'Yochel, and he says one is for Erev Pesach, one is for Pesach, and one is for Chamesh Shabbat Pesach.
Right, so that's what we paskin, right?
We paskin only Erev Pesach. We don't paskin like Chamesh Shabbat Pesach.
Right.
We paskin like Erev Pesach. Right. There's a L'Yochel.
From Rabbi Yehuda, right? So that's so. But the Ravid, I'm assuming that the Ravid passes that way. But the Ravid says there was this idea that Bal Yira is connected to the Chila. That's not so pashut either.
Right, because he was proving it. Right, he's bringing that from Rishalmi, but the rabbit is saying that says in the pasuk called Shiva. So,
and he also has nothing to do with Chila. So he has a case where there's an Isra Chila, but there's no Isra Bal Yira.
Yeah, and even if you say Bal Yira, it's like some people learn it's a gather, you shouldn't come to eat it, but it's not a kasha because it could be it's only a getter by where Achilas Karas.
Right.
Even Rabbi Yehuda holds that Chila as Erev Pesach. He only holds it's a lav. It's not karas.
Right. I mean the fact that there's no that it's easier to understand. It's a problem if it's a getter, but there's no. But the thing that you're protecting is not Isra. But the fact that you have, like the Isra Chila, but no getter of the Isra Bayra, that's I don't see that as too much of a problem. I see the other way. If it was a problem, it would be the other way, having an Isra by Ra by Matzah, and not having Isra.
Yeah, that would be
right. Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying it's pashut that according to Reb Shimon, that there's no Isra Achila, it shouldn't be about.
Yeah, I mean the way. Yeah, you're right. I would say.
Even according to Reb Shimon, there's a Rishonim that say that there's no lava of Achila, but. Most of them hold that there's a din of tashbisu, even according to Rav Shimon, and they talk about are you mekayim tashbisu by eating it. And most Rishonim say you're not mekayim tashbisu by eating it because it's a sorrow that Torah meant to get rid of it, not by eating it. So it ends up it is usher to eat it. That's the essay of tashbisu. So maybe it's not so bad if there's a Bal Yira, because still the Torah didn't want you to, even if it didn't give a lav, but it still put an Isra on eating it. Okay. He says, V'nei lavza einu over ela b'kazayas, I am be'ed dav zayin and beis, l'divri Rambam perkal v'chomet zamata halacha gimel, v'rav mechaber, lo kinim asa maisa. So that's where the Rambam says, if you just keep it, you aim b'maisa, you don't get malchus. But if you do a maisa like you buy it, or if you do a maisa like you make chametz, you did a maisa, even though the maisa wasn't the actual avera, the maisa was only to see whether you had it, right? But that's still called that you did a maisa avera, and you're going to get malchus when you do a maisa. And there are Rishonim that hold there are no malchus even if you do a maisa, because it's lava nitik essay of tashbisu. Because you're over in the lav, you're still over the lav, just so you don't get malchus. And there are other Rishonim that say that it's always called the lav shein bo maisa even when you do a maisa, because the ikar isn't the maisa. But he's saying there's Rishonim that say you don't come malchus because it's a lav nitik essay. But still, the lav you're over when you eat the lav is only on a kazayas. But chatzi shir, so what's the din of chatzi shir? Das habri achronim de mutter min Torah. That normally we say chatzi shir is has min Torah, but many achronim say when it comes to chametz chatzi shir is mutter min Torah. V'lo shayach chatzi shir chazi let's rufi b'chdei achilas pras. And they say because the only time chatzi shir is aser is in the case of achila, where if you eat a chatzi shir now and a chatzi shir later, it's mitzdarf as long as you do it within a chdei achilas pras. Ayin shagas aryeh. And that's his svara. In other words, he's saying that by eating, you're mitzvah of anything which is done in kedei achilas pras. That's achilas pras is 3 minutes.
Right.
So if you eat half a gazayas in the first minute and half a gazayas in the second minute, it's mitzvah. So therefore, when you eat the first gazayas, so half a gazayas, it was chazi let's rufe. But when it comes to bal yirah, if you have a half a gazayas only, and then another minute later you get another half a gazayas, you weren't over from the first half a gazayas. It's only now that you have a gazayas you're over. It's not mistarif what you did before. So therefore it's not called chazi let's terufe.
So it's really dependent on the process. I understood the chazi is terufe. It's interesting what happened was because it says b'kedei achilas pras. It wasn't because it's kedei achilas pras. It's because you have to do A in order to get to B. In other words, you have to eat the half a gazayas to get to eat the whole kazayas. But I don't remember the idea of the time limit. Obviously, but the time limit must be there.
Well, that's Chashagas Aretz Chiddush. The partial way of learning Chazal Terufi is because since it could be mitzvah to kazayas the way you're learning.
Right.
It had nothing to do with
well, it wasn't. It's no. So that's what you're saying. I thought that the way I understood it is that you had to do A to get to B. So you had to eat a chatzi shir to eat a full shir. With this thing, you can have a full kazayas at one. I guess it is still bound by time. You can just have a whole piece of bread thrown into your, in your shir. You don't need to have a half.
By eating also, you don't have to have it. You could swallow kazayas so much else.
Right,
Someone could throw kazayas down you when it's considered eating. You don't have to have the chatzi shir first.
So it's because of the time orientation. Okay.
That's the Shagas Aretz shot. And partially you don't learn it has to do with the time orientation. It's just a svara that if the Torah gets malchus in the whole shir, so there's an isser on the chatzi shir. In other words, that says the last second of Pesach, and you don't have a time to. You're eating a chatzi zayas, and there's no time. Even within Kedei Achilas Pras to eat another chatzi zayas, you only have just a second. So some people hold then there's no isser chatzi shir min Torah, and some people say that that's still called chatzi shir. It's not a svara that you will be mitzvah. The whole svara of chatzi terufi is that since it could be mitzvah, and then when you eat a kazayas there's malchus. But that's the slach. The slach says there's a question because the Rambam, when he says chatzi shir is aser by chametz, he says because it says lo ye'achol, there's a special ribui for chatzi shir. So the Meforshim will ask, what does he need? Rambam passes all over chatzi shir is aser min Torah. So what does he need a special ribui by chametz? So the slach says, I think it's the slach says. It's got to be this case of if it would be also as chazi terufi, if you would eat it the last second of Pesach, it wouldn't be considered chazi let's rufi. But now that it says a special pasuk on the chatzi shir, so even the last second. But people argue on that. People say no, even the last second is called chazi let's. Chazi let's rufi means not because we're chayash lamaisa you're going to finish it off. Because it's just a svara that since the Torah didn't want you to have a kazayas with a lav, so it answered anything less. But the Shagasari is the one that says as far it's only by achila because it's mitzurif and kedei achilas pras. And then he says, and look up the Duglam Ravava Simon Tufman Bays. The Magen Abraham says, I don't know what the Duglam Ravava says. Is he saying like that's the slach? Could be that's the slach that I'm talking about. I don't know. And he says, now even if you say there is no malchus on this lav, like those we shall know it's a lav in the Tegli essay, the chatzi shir is also in a Torah, he's bothered, so may not mean if you eat a shir or chatzi shir. It's in a Torah, it's both. Chatzi shir and the shir. And the malchus you're not going to get side by side. So what's the difference if something is a lava or it's chatzi shiur? So he says there's a big difference. Mikol makom nafkamina. There is a nafkamina between the kazayas and the chatzi shiur. Nafkamina ben kazayas and chatzi shiur the inyan shua. Why? The im nishba gam ken shelo yiru chametz v'kana chametz. He made a shua not to have chametz, and he bought chametz. And chayv shua's bitui. Then shua chal b'nishba shelo yachol nefeil. So it's a shua levatel sa mitzvah, and a shua it's not chal. So therefore, if you made a shua not to have a kazayas chametz, and you bought a kazayas chametz, you're not over the shua. Aval chatzi shiur, but if you made a shua not to eat a chatzi shiur, the Gemara says that even chatzi shiur is us min Torah, shua is chal. Chatzi shiur chala shua afsh aser min ha Torah. And Raman Perikem Yeshuas halachasayin or Torah Yeshuas your maskal hatera, v'chav gimel bezin your maskal demuke. So really, it's not so pushy. Why is that true? Why is it? Why isn't so? The Ran says because chatzi shiur is not mefurish in the Torah, and the shua is chal on chatzi shiur since it's not mefurish, even though it's at the reisa. I think he's referring to these different sheets and what's called chazik l'struvi, but I'm not sure. Okay, so he's saying, because he was bothered, what's the difference if there's no malchus by the law, what's the difference of an Isser lav or an Isser chatzi shiur, and he's making the difference, the gabe shua. The difference would also be the gabe person who has to eat, has to have chametz. If you figure out for a case you have to have chametz, the difference of chatzi shiur is not as chomer as a lav. Even the lav doesn't have malchus, but it's a lav, whereas chatzi shiur is not a. Now, so I'm sure you can figure out other chilukim between chatzi shiur and a lav, but he's making the chiluk like min shua.
Because he's saying because the distinction is not because there's malchus.
Right. Because he's going like those Rishonim. There is no malchus. You have to see. I mean, if you hold that there's no malchus because it's a lava netak la essay, so that goes into the whole sugya that if you can't do the essay, then you could get malchus. So maybe there's cases where you can't. If you get rid of it, you did the essay. Or maybe let's say there's cases of Goy took it, and it's not in your reach, it's not possible for you to do the essay. Or you put it someplace where you can't get to it or something. I feel that's not a kiyum essay. Maybe it's, could be cases where you could end up getting malchus if the whole reason is lavanetic essay. Probably you can figure out cases that you could be mevatel, make it that you can't do the essay.